for me, there's nothing more cathartic than driving my favorite roads with the top down on a beautiful summer day. And doing it in the all-new SL550, well, it just doesn't get any better than this. There are a lot of expensive roadsters on the market today, but none that carries the prestige and quintessence of luxury convertible motoring quite like the SL. With 60 years of iconic heritage behind it, this is Mercedes in its most recognizable form. There are few cars that meld elegance and power in quite the way this one does, which brings us to this 6th generation model. Longer and wider, but weighing 200 pounds less thanks to a new aluminum body and energized by a new twin-turbo V8, which produces more power and better fuel economy.
The Mercedes-Benz SL has really been an icon for the brand. The SL story started back in 1952 when we introduced the SL race car, which, true to its name, was super light. The vehicle reached international success, set worldwide records, some of which even stand today. The public yearned for such a car, and they got it in 1954 with the legendary 300 SL Gullwing. 3 years later, we introduced the SL convertible. And ever since then, this tradition and heritage has built over 7 decades.
If only I had one room in my house that was as well appointed as the SL. Everything is rich and integrated, right down to air vents with a substantial dampened feel. The seats have more tech in them than most cars. Need a longer cushion? Done. Mercedes calls this vent the air scarf, and active seat bolsters move in while cornering to hold you in place.
Look at this interior. If you want to feel like royalty, this is the place to sit. It has leather everywhere, wood trim.
Only the finest materials and craftsmanship went into its construction. The seats are leather, and they actually are heat-reflecting leather. So on a sunny day, the seats don't get hot. They reflect the heat, keeping it nice and cool. And no matter what the weather, the SL lets you enjoy top-down driving and more of it, thanks to standard heated seats and options like active ventilated seats and our air scarf system that warms your neck like a virtual scarf. And there's a new power mesh wind blocker that's also standard. The cabin is roomier too, thanks to a few other innovations. The audio engineers took advantage of the aluminum body structure with a unique system called front bass. Usually the speakers or subwoofers in a Roadster are in the doors because there's no other space in the vehicle. So at a very early stage, our engineers decided to integrate the subwoofers, which are 8.5 inch, into the footwells of the vehicle. By doing so, it freed up additional space in the doors for storage. The dash is very driver focused, and the design is both elegant and ergonomic. The steering wheel is thick with a flat bottom section like a race car's, and standard paddle shifters. On the console, the first thing you'll notice is the electronic shifter with embossed leather and a precise tap-to-shift operation. Next to it, the SL gets our intuitive central controller, which lets you manage the audio, navigation, and a lot of vehicle features with a simple single knob that falls right into your hand. We now have this screen located at the highest point of the dash in order to minimize the distance your eye has to travel from the road to the screen. The standard audio is a 600-watt Harman Kardon system, including the front bass setup, and it sounds fantastic. For the
I'm sure it's much more beautiful underneath the skin. I mean, this car is mostly aluminum. It's made of these gigantic cast aluminum pieces that must just be stunning to look at.
Large center star and a single crosswing. The standard bi-xenon headlamps combine artistic detail like these LED indicators with the latest technology, from active curve illumination to adaptive high beam assist. 44 laser cut holes in the heated blades precisely spray the washer fluid directly in front of the moving blades, so the passengers don't get soaked even when you wash the window with the top down.
The entire top goes down by holding a lever, and the SL includes a clever feature in the trunk which automatically retracts the glass top for easy access to your cargo.
So now you're probably wondering, why are we reviewing this? Why not a GTR? Why not a ZR1? Why not 4 Subaru BRZs? There's a very good reason for that, and it's because there's something just unquestionably cool about the big, giant, powerful SL-Benz. You know, this car is not a sports car, but it's not trying to be either. It wants to be the big, comfortable, and luxurious yacht out there in the sea of cars that you see on the road every day. It doesn't want to be a little race car. It wants to be in it for the long haul, the comfortable ride home after your power lunch, after the big meeting. This is the car for the 1%.
Now, here's the weird thing about the performance of this car, is it makes so much torque that it really, you know, right from the bottom of the rev range, it's more than happy to pull itself along with authority. But the weird thing about its acceleration is it's not 0 to 60 that's the most impressive part of it. Sure, it's a fast 0 to 60 car. You know, it's a 4.5 or so second 0 to 60 car, depending on how well it launches. But it's really that 60 to 100 that gets to be sort of mind-boggling, because it seems like there is where the transmission sets itself in a really solid ratio and lets the turbos go to full boost and really shoves you with authority. You know, it's one of those cars that seems like it doesn't stop in its force of acceleration as you get it up into the higher speed limits.
Twin turbo, direct injected 4.7 liter V8 that develops 429 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. 516, that's more than the M5, and that's more than most Corvettes make. Traction then might be an issue. But it's not. Launching the SL is about as easy as it gets. You select sport mode on the suspension, sport mode on the transmission, and then you just roll on the throttle aggressively. You don't mat it, you just roll on smoothly. Traction control takes care of the rest. And it's really hard to convey just how fast this thing is, but it is very fast indeed. 0 to 60, 4 seconds, and we'll hit the quarter mile in 12.5 seconds at 114 miles an hour. The top end pull is insane. It blows me away.
To a shove you into your seat beast with the thrust of 516 pound-feet of torque in an instant. Some cars flaunt great numbers but don't really feel that fast, but this SL rockets to 60 miles per hour.
Even though this isn't the AMG version of this car, you know, if you turn off traction, we'll leave on stability. In sport mode, we'll turn off eco, start up the engine, gets us all the way into first gear. You know, the thing just can shred its tires. And it really does run you along with some pretty serious force.
And you get more room with this, you get more gadgets. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, you get power! You get a lot of power. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, you don't get that. Oh, buddy. Yeah.
The interior, on the other hand, is simply gorgeous. Much like a Rolex watch, the SL has a timeless look. Speaking of, the clock alone is a pleasure to gaze upon. After a week with the SL550, I was very, very sad to see it go.
I think that's the hardest thing. It's not even finding the car that goes fast. It's finding the car that can put a smile on your face. And this car certainly does that.
Normally, a price tag north of 100 grand would be my biggest gripe, but here, I'll say it's worth it. Drive a Mercedes-Benz SL550 and you'll not only understand its costs, you'll have a solid, tangible reason to become wealthy and collect art of the four-wheel variety.